Talking about club fittings, club repairs, club reviews, club opinions, all here on What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. Next. Welcome back to What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. Jim McCleary here. Why is it What's in My Drawers Golf Talk? Because it's what's in my drawers in the shop. Old club makers, club fitters are tremendous pack rats, and that's me. So we are going to talk about some club fittings, some club repairs, some club reviews, all so that our scores can go low. And as usual, the very beginning, we got to give Taylor Moore a nod for winning in a tough track, the snake pit, and it didn't collect him as it did some other folks. And coming out, I got to watch 4 or 5 holes, and he was actually fading. And then apparently, as soon as I turned it off, he started birding. So congrats to him. Congrats on the win. All righty. So here we go. It was St. Patrick's Day. We got that for you. How about some of that? Super Softs with the Shamrocks. There was that one. All righty. So the next thing is, and I know we've talked about it before, is the Makefield putters, and you get to see the different varieties there. You got the standard ones with the 3 prongs. You got what we've been calling the large half moons and the baby half moons. And what it's really is, one's what they're calling a tour model, and the other one is a non-tour model, I guess. Anyway, what it comes with is several different shafts of several different lengths and lies and different necks. Now, it's not an infinite number. I'm going to say somewhere around 15 or 20 of these things. And some of them have a slant neck. Some of them have a double bend. Some of them are straights. And I believe, no, there's no plumber's neck. Anyway, some are made for the center shaft. Some are made for the heel mount. And some come in different lie angles. Some are different lengths with different grips. And so and the thing is, you can switch them around. I mean, obviously, when you're looking at that and you see the heads, you got to figure out where the shafts, right? And so far we've done 2 fittings, and both fittings ended up resulting in a Makefield putter going to their house. One was for Joe, one of the guys that watches here regularly. And and one of them went with a big mallet, and the other one went with a smaller mallet. So it just goes to show you that there's something out there for everybody. Now, the part that we talked, if you guys watched last week's, we had Bernie Garson on there. Pardon me. Mr. Garson also reps for BGT, which is that putter shaft. And in that particular head, it makes a huge difference. So that's also something to consider. But it has been working well. I just need to get it more in line for a fitting program as opposed to having heads just sitting out on a table and shafts just laying up against a rack. And then in order for it to be more of a professional feel. All righty. Here we go. We had a fitter. This is a long distance dedication. We had a fitter come from Michigan. That's our buddy right here. And he's got a good first name, James. And from just on the northern side of Detroit. So yeah, Sterling Heights. He's worked in the car industry, and actually he's late 60s?
69.
Yep, late 60s, getting ready to be 70 this year, and has just a wonderful swing. And we ended up fitting him into a nice set of irons, Mizuno's, probably the Hot Metal Pros. And the thing is, we tested the big thing for James was weight, right? He was used to golfing a lighter type shaft, and we kind of married it up. We went 90, and then we went 105, and went back down to 80, and we kept coming back into this 85, 95 area, of which he would just do way better, making better contact. Now, the other part of this is as you can tell, I'm 6 foot and he's taller than I am. He's a taller fella. And so but he also has really long arms. So this goes into that whole idea of why do you need a custom fitting? He's the perfect example. He's probably 6'2", maybe a little taller, but he's got really, really long arms. And when he sets up to a standard club, he was hitting easily 2 inches behind it. Now, every once in a while, he'd clip it and it would be fine. But he was a guy that shoots into the low 80s. And then I gave him a longer one and went like this. So it became evident length was going to be an issue for him. As soon as I gave him one that was a half of an inch short, just like that, started clipping them off. And it was a difference of, it was a whole club's worth of distance different. And the reason being it was because of the quality of hit. You weren't dragging the club this far through the mat, the dirt, the turf, whatever you want to call it. And he was hitting it clean. And just for instance, he'd go from like a 154 shot and it would be a 165 to 168 shot. To the point, the very last club I had him in, he was busting 170. So not bad, right? And it's all on progression. Now, what we also found out is it was kind of a tie. The Mizuno 225 and the Hot Metal Pro. And I'd never thought in my wildest dreams he would hit the 225 well because of its design. But as it turns out, he actually hit it further by about 3 yards. However, the dispersion was like this versus like this with the Pro model. When the Pro model, he was barely offline, and in the Mizunos, he was right to left. So, and quite a bit of ways. So that was what we were seeing. So that's my deal on fitting. Now, the last bit of this, and what we'll talk about it here when I'm done, is probably the most expensive set of irons I've ever worked on, and they're the Nicklaus Miuras. Nicklaus Miuras. And this box came in. I think I showed you one either last week or the week before, and they came in with Nippon 950s with corded grips on them, and a really nice set. I mean, just super nice set. And he walks in and he hands it to me with the certificate of authenticity and the Jack Nicklaus picture that normally comes with those things. And he asked me to remove the shafts. I was like, no, I ain't doing it. He says, no, he's going to play it. I was like, okay, he's going to play it. And we did a fitting for him earlier, and he was playing Mizunos, and he really liked it. And we were using Acura 80s. So he wanted some Acura 80s put in there. So that's what we did. And there's the new paint job for the Acuras, right? This is it's not as busy as one would think. The older one, had Acuras all up and down the shaft, and to me it was busy. This one is very, very simplistic. You get to see the Acura name, you get to see the IS for I series, and then you get to see the number for the weight category. So it turned out pretty good. The swing weights were with inside one, and everything that came out. The shafts were inside 1 gram dispersion between the top and the bottom. The weights were within 1 gram. The heads were the only thing that were even close to being out of sorts, and we checked that out. And as it turns out, the swing weights came out fine. We got him frequency matched. He's ready to go. Now, as part of that, he also wanted a couple of Miura driving irons and a couple of Miura hybrids redone too. And so we put same shafts in those guys. And there's another look at the Jack Nicklaus. And then here's the bottom. So he had a 3 and a 4 in that, and then he had a 3 and a 4 in the other one, but they were different lofts. And that was the shafts that we put in the other one, which is the same ones. He wanted the same shafts. So there's where that goes, right? And the guy's got game. I've talked about him before, and I said he was in his late 60s, and maybe right at 70, but he's in his. I know. You're going to let me finish the whole sentence first. If you're I got like the ultimate peanut gallery. Anyway, I should have said your ventriloquism is working. Yeah. So, anyway, the guy, this golfer is in his mid 70s and still can get under par. So that's where we're at. So that's what we're talking about. That's what it was all about. Did some other fittings for a series of different golfers. We worked out a guy that I got him tired of fitting. He came back and we did some wood work and got that guy straightened out. We talked about another fellow that was golfing, was a pretty decent golfer, but he was bending at his back as opposed to keeping his back straight. As soon as we did that, he started hitting the ball so much better. And so we're helping golfers. That's really the big deal. All righty, so let's go see some comments. And we only took 20 minutes on that. That's not bad. Oh, and I got to tell you, before we get going, I just hit this club about just 4 or 5 shots with it. We're gonna have to concentrate on that guy. That's so got a pretty nice feel to it. I'm quite surprised. All righty. Matt's first up. Weather kept him off the course again, and like much of us, and I'm told, what was it, Wednesday or Thursday? Or Thursday might be warm, but it's supposed to be rainy as all get out down here, so I'm not sure how that's going to work. As the season gets underway, what are you looking forward to most as you get to play regularly? I'm looking forward to my short game. That would be fine. What I'm looking for is my directional control. I tend to pull shots quite a bit and getting them to go straighter. When I get them to go straighter, although pull shots tend to feel stronger, for me it's average. And if I get them to go straighter, that's my pull feel. But that's what I'm looking for. All righty. Michael Moody, he says hello. Great to hear from you. And Michael Moody says he's more afraid of a great putter than a good driver, I would say. Emmanuel, I saw the picture, dude. I wish I should have brought it up here. Do you still have it on there? I got Emmanuel wearing the McGolf outfit. I think I actually may have it in my pictures here. We might have to do a quick look-see. Let's see. Let's see. Is it before or after the pings? Really, all you have to do is type in Emmanuel and he pops up. Not on mine, he don't. In an email. Oh, in an email. Okay. So here's our buddy Emmanuel wearing the green. See if I can get to. There we go. In his shop, that is what you call one heck of a shop, Emmanuel. That is super duper nice. So well done. All right. So Emmanuel says, hello, Jim and Robin. Thanks for sharing. No problem. During an iron fitting, at what point do I stop trying different weights and shaft flex to control launch and spin and try a rifle shaft? Well, if they had the rifle shafts of the day, Emmanuel, that would be very, very cool. And it was unfortunate that, if they could have figured out how to make a 90 gram or even a 105 gram shaft like they do now, that is very, very similar to the rifle, I think they'd probably still be rifle and getting it there. But timing is everything. But it was pretty impressive. But there's lots of things that take into account. Different weights and shaft flexes are also characteristics of your swing, meaning that in general, that if you're quick tempoed or if you pull down really hard or if you're a late releaser, you tend to, well, let's start with this. If you're quick tempo, you tend to favor maybe a heavier shaft. And that's just so you can track it in your swing. Now, you may also need, if you're on that cusp between an R and an S or an S and X or A and an R, you may falter to the one that's above it because you're loading the club on your way back as you are on your way down. And you may need something a little bit beefier than what swing speed would suggest. And then you can get to there. Then you are also looking at the profile at that point. Are you late releasing? Are you early releasing? Those kinds of things, in order to get to that point where you're allowing the golfer to, trap the ball or get it as best as they possibly can. And then after that, and then we're talking about ball flight after that. And ball flight can be adjusted by weight, right? If it's a heavier shaft can cause you to release early. A lighter shaft can cause you to release later. I mean, it's just all those different things. And those are the kinds of things that you will want to try. Now, if you're a guy who hits this ballooning shot and you're wanting to hit that's a swing issue. That's not equipment. And you've got to know that. The other part is you might look at just changing the loft. That's where that goes. But then again, you can just try a rifle shaft and trim it just like Emmanuel says and get them to go down. Not bad. All righty. Tembanga. Hope all is well for you. Just grinding away at tax season there. Oh, you're right in the thick of it too, man. Can't wait to get on the course. Any word on the Raw Apex rebuild? Thanks again. Dan, your box is sitting right in the doorstep of my shop. You are the next guy on board, so it is coming along. Mrs. McGough is keeping me in line. There's Paul Van Vliet. How you doing, buddy? Lately, I find myself not watching golf YouTubes as I am physical fitness videos. Well, good for you, dude. You get your best of both worlds in and get golf physical fitness videos in. Charlie, how are you, sir? 35 on the front, 45 in the back, halfway there. I was -1 walking on number 9 tee. Oh, well, there will be days. Good for you. This is orange. Jameson orange. Not Scotch, but Irish whiskey. All right, past my prime. If Jordan Spieth ever gets out of his own way, he'll win everything. That last tee shot in the water was nearly a given. I'd have to agree, bud. I'd have to agree. It's been those last couple of times where he's been his own worst enemy, and I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm not good enough to understand the nuances of every single little bitty thing that's out there. I don't know if we boil it down because I'm just not good enough to say, look, just go for the middle of the green or find the middle of the fairway and then I got a little bit of air, so let's throw it that way. I don't know. I know I'm just not that good, and to watch them go, it's like this checklist, and you're just like, wow. And maybe that's the reason why they are that good, is because they go through that. So we'll see. Concentrating greens and regulation. There you go, bud. That's always a good one. Still a great front nine, Dan says, and he would not be wrong. Front nine was a surreal experience. Good for you. Passman Prime says, nice front, Charles. Can't count the number of times I've done that and how many times and how it's how I maintain my amateur status. You are correct, sir. Michael says, don't forget the thumbs up, and thank you. That was a good lead in. If you guys would like, subscribe, hit that bell down there. That way you get the notifications for the video coming out. And the video coming out is talking about that set of irons I showed you in a rebuild format, which is what leads me to the next question. I did a whole entire video, the first half of taking them apart and putting them together. Worked out pretty good. The second half, the microphone blew out on me. So there's me talking about it, and I'm thinking about kind of narrating in the background just to talk about what we're doing. So in order to just clean it up, we'll see. Charles, what do you think, buddy? He's right there saying thank you. Jack King, first round tomorrow, supposed to be in the mid-50s. I believe it hit 50 here today. And it's pretty nice, as you can see, the bright white just blowing out the back here. Not too bad. Matt's telling Charlie his round was awesome. He's hungry for more. John Lamb. Hope your weekend was excellent. So far it was. So far it was. Deuce K, hi everyone. What's the best way to go about collecting shafts and heads to start fitting folks? Well, the idea of collecting is probably the idea of something you don't want to do. So I tend to leave that when you're trying to fit people. Number one, you've got to know who the majority of your customers are if you're just getting started and you're just kind of trying it out. It will be no good to carry a bunch of X-Flex shafts if the largest amount of your golfers are senior golfers, right? They're just not going to touch those shafts. In fact, the largest percentage of golfers are not going to touch those shafts. So you want to kind of find that what I call under the bell curve. Find those shafts under the bell curve, and that's the first part of it. And then you get to hear the likes of club champions. I have 50,000 different combinations, yada yada yada. Well, you're never ever going to hit 50,000 combinations, and you're far better off to be really really good at two or three companies than no good at all the companies. So that's the philosophy I would give you for right there. So find companies that you could work with that will give you information that will, help you along, that kind of stuff, and then combine that in with the heads. And the heads right now, uh, I've been doing this for well over 20 years, and in the last 5 to 6 maybe, I have gotten into the OEM side of it. Before that, it was purely custom stuff for using the likes of Wishon, KB, or K. Gee, many Christmas, I can't remember their name now. KZG. Oh, that's KZG, and the likes like that, and we did just fine with that. The OEM, what happened was is that the other companies started kind of going by the wayside or just couldn't keep up with the trending, and that's just what happens. As it turns out this was a much better business model for this area. Sometimes you can go to the other end, like the Miuras that we were talking about, very high end, or Vega is another very high end, or the Japanese models, and you can go in that direction. You can also go the other direction and offer things that are not clones but look-alike type stuff from the Monarchs or the Hyricos and that kind of stuff, because they are one of the biggest club head makers on the planet. Right. So you've got to kind of choose what it is that you want to do, then go and check out the companies and start a dialogue with them. You never know. Sometimes you just luck out. Sunny V is back. The days are warming up here, but we're not close to golfing yet. Well, last time you were on here, bud, you were talking about getting several inches of snow. So hopefully you've gotten past that one. All right. There's Dan. Have you done any builds with the new Project X wedge shaft? Similar plays 6.5. It has me really intrigued, curious on the different launch spins from the iron shafts. Well, I haven't been able to compare them against the actual iron shaft themselves, but I do have the 556065, and there is a marked difference between them just picking them up. I gave them to a couple of guys that are big time swingers, and they really did seem to like them. It was a neat little trade off. They said it had a pretty good feel. All right. It was a Ray round. Play like Ray Floyd on the front and Ray Charles on the back. Nice. There you go. Charlie thought it was funny. That's good. There's Michael saying, good to see Mrs. McGolf. Matthew O'Malley. That's not Irish a bit. How you doing, bud? Phil K is chilly in Austin. Is the wind blowing pretty good down there? Is that what it is? There's Charlie talking. There we go. Todd Person. Hello, love the show, and thank you. Well, Todd, you're more than welcome, bud. Stu. Hey, Jim, can you tell me the raw shaft weight of a blank 48-inch shaft for, say, the Ventus 7X? Then how would a fairway wood be heavier from the same blank shaft as a driver shaft, which is longer? Okay. Well, if I understand the question correctly, you're asking how does the fairway wood shaft be heavier and other than a 7X? Okay, so we got to start with this. Sometimes we all assume that 7 means 70. Okay, if you go and look, that 7 could mean anything from 68 to almost 80. That's just putting it in a category versus a 6, a 5, a 4, or even a 9 for that matter. So you got to watch out for that. That's number one. Number two, fairway wood shafts typically are not 48-inch long. They come in maybe an inch or two shorter. And when they do the inch or two shorter, they put that same amount of weight and sometimes even more along that shaft for weight, but in order to deal with the smaller, heavier head that likes to twist more, hence a fairway wood shaft. And they're very, very different. And you know, uh, Graphite Design, Acra have both embraced making those types of shafts independent of the driver, and that's what we're seeing now. What you may be also talking about here is uh, if we went and made a fairway wood shaft. Uh, if you took the very exact same shaft and you put it in a fairway wood, and yet somehow it measured out heavier, it's because of the head. Right, it's because of the head, because the fairway wood head is somewhere in the vicinity of 15 grams heavier. All right, and it's simple math for me, but the head's going to weigh somewhere around 200, 198 to 205, and the three wood's going to be in that 215 range, and that's probably the reason why. All right, thumbs for me. Oh, thumbs. There we go. How was the dispersion, Jim? With the if you're talking about with the wedge shaft, if you're talking about with the wedge shaft, I was just hitting it into the net. I didn't have the machine on. I was just going from purely a feel perspective and where I was hitting it on the face. I have given it to some folks to try. This being the lefty one, the only guy hitting it has been me so far. And folks have been very, very, very surprised at how nice this thing feels. We've sold a few of those as well as I can tell you, but uh, it's just it's amazing. It's a truly different feel for something like that. Here's Stu. As a driver shaft is generally a little lighter, how can that be when it comes to the same shaft only being cut down to 3 inches compared to the 5 wood shaft? Uh, when the shaft is being cut down to say 3 inches compared to the 5 wood. Again, it's in the head, Stu. All those guys are heavier, heavier, heavier. All righty. Charlie says those nicklaus clubs should be mounted on the wall. They are gorgeous, and they were very, very nice. And it was funny when you look at the Miura specs for them. The Miura specs were what I would call they're modern day lofts. They're not traditional lofts. They're modern day lofts, and they're not super strong lofts. With a 26 degree or 27 degree 5-iron and a 44 degree pitching wedge. You would think something back there that might even go, if you want to go really old school, it'd be like 30 and 47. So, but they're not. And man, those things, the soles on them couldn't have been that wide. Butter, when you talk about the word butter knife, that's what it was. And man, they hit pretty good. In fact, the golfer came and picked him up, and he hit one, and he said,
clubs.
Yeah.
It's current Jack specs.
Uh-huh.
That's what he said.
No, how did he like it when he hit it?
Oh, he loved it. Felt exactly how he thought it would feel.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry, no.
So we hit one out of the park on that one, so very good.
I took a picture of him hitting.
Oh, there we go. All righty. Robin's talking back to the folks. She does that quite a bit here, too.
What?
Matt, is Robin in the fitting room today? Great place to be at this time of the week. Can you tell? Yeah. Danny says, yeah, it's too cold to be out on the porch.
Right.
And she would agree with that.
Your head is bobbing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Robin's agreeing with Matt. And Robin is the boss, Michael is saying.
Right.
Swing it. What do you say, Krister? How are you, buddy? I saw you got your bag set for the year. I saw the picture on Instagram. And I mean, he's ready to rock and roll if he ever gets the snow off the ground. Still cold, only 1.5 months the season starts where you live. Yeah, I've been watching you hitting on the simulator and getting it out there, and this dude is a machine when it comes to hitting it into that putt out. I mean, the dude's like a magnet. He's a machine when you watch it. If you ever get over there a chance to see him, it is massive what he can do. There's Colin Miles. What do you say, sir? And he's 71, 8 handicap. I want to change the 850s Fords with my steel fibers for JPX hot metals. Will the shafts be okay? Yes. The JPX 850 is just basically a much, much older version of the same. Now, it depends on which hot metal you're talking about, Colin. The original hot metal versus the JPX 850 is going to appear, I would say it's going to appear to be a little wider on the sole and maybe just have a hint more offset. The 850s are very nice to be sure. Also, the 923s are going to be a little bit stronger. But yeah, you should be able to pull and put them in. All right, John Lamb, curiosity question. When I pull an OEM graphite shaft, I have noticed a small plastic plug and a few of them. Just wondering on the purpose of this widget has my curiosity going. Well, a couple of things. I've asked that question too, John. A couple of things. One of two things. One, they put it at the end of the shaft to prevent the glue from going up into the shaft, and that way they actually can only put just so much. That's one. And the other one, it has to do with just a hint of feel. It's a dampener that's at the bottom so that you don't get a whole lot of vibration, so it feels softer. If you'll notice in some cases that those little plug on the bottom is not necessarily plastic, but rubber. And it just happens to be really, really hard after it's been glued on and it just doesn't want to give up its form. But some are plastic, and you get that, and I believe it's just to hold on to that. Matthew Malley talking about putters. He has a Biomech putter. And I can't. I don't know, dude. The Biomech, I know what you're talking about. I guess you got to have just be right over top of it to be there. Jules, in his 16th week of recovery from rotator cuff, well, you ought to be getting fairly close. Doctor said I could chip and putt. Now looking forward to that. Aha, there you go. Well, you must have got the big surgery where they cut you open big time. Around here, rotator cuffs go at a premium, and I get what's either called filleting you open, which they open you up and they do their magic and sew you back together. That's a heck of a long time for recovery. And then now they go in there and they've got two holes and they go in there and they do it, and it's longer. It's not yesterday recovery, but it's certainly shorter than the filleted open model. Well, did you ask him to make sure that you got a draw on that shoulder? That's the biggest thing. Have him tighten up that knot just a little bit. All righty. Oh, can't miss and love it. There you go. That's better. Good for you. There's Cam. How are you, sir? Thanks again, as always, everyone. Hit the like button. I appreciate that very much. Please do. I got to play 9 holes at Windswept in Panama City, Florida. Nice.
Where you going?
In Panama City. Okay.
What's your first round?
Yep. Last week, 42 for 9 holes. Unfortunately, I started with a double bogey. Very well done, Danny. We're going to be down there, and that's going to be Bob and I's very first place to go play in about, I'm going to say 2 weeks. In about 2 weeks, that's going to be our first stop. We're going to stop in Alabama just on the other side, and then we're going to drive straight in, stop there. The women are going to drop us off, and we're just going to go get some. So we'll see how that works out. Oh. Joseph Fritzy. How you doing, buddy? Hello, could you tell us about your experiences with BGT Stability Putter Shaft? I used one for the first time and enjoyed it. Appreciate the show. Well, Joseph, all I can tell you is, watch this. See this guy right here? This is what I think of it, Joseph. This is my gamer. There it is. The Ninja. Right? This thing changed the way that this putter works. And again, if you would have saw Mr. Garson talking about this, he would agree. The funny part is, it's the noticeable part about it is, yes, there is control. The roll just really nice and crisp. But the funny part of it, what you notice later, is that when you're putting, this thing is extraordinarily solid. There's almost no give. In fact, there probably isn't any. But the thing is that when you go to pick up another putter, it's almost like it's flapping in the breeze. I didn't think that would exist, but it does. Do I have any empirical evidence? I could probably put the put my Capto on it and be done with it. But the thing is that it's more of a feel. It almost looks like it was doing like this. Obviously, it's not. But instead of being right back and forth, it's more like you can just feel the error in it when it's not there, and it's really kind of funny that way. But yeah, it's impressive. So yeah, do I support him? Heck yes, I do. Cam, if you only had one more round of golf to play in your life, what driver, irons, and putter would you take with you? Well,
Better yet, where would you want to play?
Mm-hmm. Well, if I had my druthers, I'm probably going to put this driver that I've never hit before. It's the Paradigm, but it's got that AutoFlex shaft in it. So it's the world's ugliest driver. Of course, I'm going to want to play that. And it has all the tech in it, which of course I'm going to want to play that. The putter is going to be that Makefield with that putter in it, and I've only played one round with that. The real trick here is the wedges and the irons. The wedges, irons, and hybrids. Currently, right now, and I think Bob would agree with me that those epics that are sitting right there, those aren't coming out of the bag. They just tend to work for me very, very well. It'd be really, really hard pressed. Now, saying that, I haven't hit the. I have this feeling that this year's crop of hybrids would be the way to go. And then the last bit of it is I like my Rogue Pros, but if I'm going to go out and play one, I'm not going to care what I shoot, and I'm probably going to go back and I'm going to go to Callaway and I'm going to get a combo set of those forged, the blades and the cavity backs, and they don't even have them left-handed, but that's what I'm getting. I'm going to make them mill them for me, and that's what I'm going to go play. But that's what I would do. Oh, and by the way, that those nicklaus blades and the stuff, they only come right-handed, so no, I didn't hit them. Dave Curl, how are you, sir? Glad to see you make it on. Greg Pace is in the house. What do you say? I'm between an S and an X, 110 club head speed with the driver on average. Any concerns with tip trimming a speeder 60S to make it closer to X? I'm thinking like half or 3/4 of an inch. No. Trimming a shaft to do that, that's much okay. I'd be careful of what it is that you would trim it with the speeder, because I don't know what the tip section is, but I would go no more than 3/4. But if you're smoother and you want to do that, particularly with the speeder, because it already is very stout to begin with, I'd really only go about the 1/2 of an inch. That's where I would go with that. All righty. Here's a new one. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. Rajasmit. So I recently cut off a 1/2 inch off the Diamante D plus. Curious if the shaft tip is heavy or butt heavy.
Tip heavy.
Curious if the shaft is tip heavy or butt heavy. Oh, if the shaft itself is the D plus. Oh, you're asking whether or not it's counterbalanced. I don't think that it is. So it would be standard, and it will feel by its lonesome. It'll feel like it wants to be out onto the tip. But it all depends on where you hold it, right? And that's the balance point. So if you're holding it here, of course, this head's got the head on it, but this would be kind of where the balance point of the shaft is at, right? In a driver shaft, it'll be closer to this section, normally around 23 inches from the tip. All righty.
I have a question. Somebody called me on today and I forgot to tell you. He said if he cuts an inch off of his driver, is that going to change the spine?
No. Oh, okay. So Mrs. McGolf from the Peanut Gallery had a call-in question, and it says, if somebody chops off an inch or from the back end, is it going to change the spine and the flow? The answer is typically not. All right, and I will say no. Typically, if you take it, there is some question, is if you take it off the tip section, will it change it and do that? I if the spine is if the shaft is made symmetrically, meaning that it is round and everything has met up where it's supposed to, right? And the tip section where they put their last sets of the flags or the prepregs aren't any more than just that, and they're actually the tip section itself, then the answer would be no, it is not. It's not going to change them either direction. The other part is that now if it is smaller, could it? Yes, but only in the most of rare circumstances. All right, Gavin Duffy, what do you say, sir? What do we got here? An F1? Nice. All right. Gavin's from Ireland. He just started learning how to build clubs, spending the first 6 months this year on grips. Would you have a tip for lining the grip so the name is on the center? Yeah. So I was going to talk about this one in the video, but I'll share the tip for you. So on irons, what you want to do is line it to between the bottom score line to the bottom of the head. So if you're looking at it this way, and I don't want to hit my camera, but what we're doing is you're going to line it up like this. Geez, you still can see my hand. Here we go. You're going to line it up right here. All right. And then what you're going to do is from here, this is going to be the 12 o'clock position on the shaft. So if you're looking down on it like this, all right, you're going to be at 12 o'clock. Or you're going to be like that. It's going to be 12 o'clock here. And you're going to go straight across the top. So once you got it lined up to where it's in the position that you like as far as playing, then you get the bottom end of it, and then you put that logo right at the 12 o'clock and aim it right at that bottom piece. And that will take care of that. Now for woods, you aim higher, and that'll help you out. Now the last bit to check to make sure when you're done, because if you're using solvent, you got time. If you're using air, then you have to just take it back. When you get done, what you do is you set the club down. You set the club down in its playing position and give it a check, just to make sure. That's the last bit of the Q&A of that, or QA of that, in order to make sure that you're good to go. There we go. All right. Thanks, Jim, for the flare shaft that fits on my pings. I just did it, and it's perfect. Well, there you go. Man, blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. That would be me. Very good. All right. Krister got himself the Cobra LTDX LS9. Well, you've always been a low hit or a high hitter. Whether it was Sean Black 85S, Killer Combo 297. Woo! Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Dude, you're in that 297 324. You're ready for the tour. That's awesome. Glad you like it too. Charles says you're killing it, and I would have to agree. All right, John's asking PXG Gen 4 or the TM790s. My thoughts. Ooh. Well, you know what? Both are actually quite nice. I'll have to say that. The what I would look at, John, I think what's going to come down to is I think they're both very strong in their loft, so you're going to hit them further than you think. What it's going to come down to is what it looks like at address, right? What it looks like at address. Do you like the top line? Because the tailor-made top line will appear to be thinner than the PXG. The PXG will be very rounded. It won't be gross. It'll just look different. Now, the other part of this is the TM, the 790 has what I would call a medium-low offset, where the P very well may have more, and that could cause your directional control. But as far as feel or gaming, I'm trying to think here. I would give, as far as turf interaction, I have to give the nod to the PXGs. Performance-wise, I mean, the TM790 is proven to be sure, but the Gen 4s, they're pretty customizable. They're pretty nice. From a looks perspective, I think I'd go with the Gen 4s, only because I like that stuff that's on the club. Where on the 790s, if you like more of a blade look, than the 790s. There we go. Totally get it. How busy things can get. All worth it for the McGolf treatment. Thanks for keeping them in line, Robin. There you go. All righty. The club doctor is in today. Good evening, sir. How are you? Wetter than a beaver's pocket here. I guarantee it. There's PZ. Just came in talking about Miura. I think I'm going to order some if my wife don't kill me. Oh, I tell you what, and hit that like button. I appreciate it. Yeah, those cost you a pretty penny. If you've ever seen, they normally really like that 120 C, which stands for the carbon, and it's just to make the Japanese have a different way of coating it. They have like an S, I think it's a 1020C, or even there's a three numbered version of it, and it comes out to the same stuff that they use over here. It's just a different way of coating the same stuff. But their forging process is just extraordinarily cool, and a lot of stuff. Most of their stuff. There's no grinding as far as most people might mill a face. Theirs is pressed in, and they do a lot of grinding after that. And then that spin milling of the head or of the hosel. That spin milling of the hosel is pretty much, I believe, what would give it the softer feel. It may or may not deaden it, but in order to give that softer feel, but there is no discounting them on their performance. Manual swing, yeah, he's at 300 yards on the average, and if you watch this guy, he's always practicing. Jerry Smiley says cold and windy today, but tomorrow's supposed to be warm and windy, so I have a tee time at 11. Good for you, sir. Duke K, what do you say, man? Do you know if Makefield putters ship orders to customers? And they most certainly do. If you know what your specs are, you can get on the website and order right to pieces part or right to the specs, and they'll send it right to you.
We can have it drop shipped.
Or order from us and we can have it drop shipped. The same thing. All right. For me, Oh, here we go, Cam. For me, the driver would be the King Cobra Speed LD. My first set of McGregor blades. Ooh, nice one. And the Cobra Algira putter. Oh, sick face. Yeah, there we go. That's a good setup. That's a good setup indeed. Frank Powell, have you had time to play around with that All-Flex yet? If so, what do you think about it? The answer is no, Frank. I haven't been able to. I haven't hit the first driver since January. So that I'm trying to get weaned back into it here at the end of every day, trying to get some. Mrs. McGolf keeps scheduling these fittings for me though. So now I got to take it a little bit longer. So we'll just have to see.
Build.
Oh, and she makes me build too. All righty. Gary Ratty, he is reshafting Apex 21 irons. 5 of the 7 heads have what looks like a brass pin in the hosel. Very much so. It's hard to get out of the epoxy. You can't ream it to the bottom. You're correct. So Gary, you're gonna have to take the pin out. All right, you're gonna have to take the pin out. And one of the best ways of doing it, if you have an AWL, or a very small screwdriver, or even maybe even a drill bit could do it, and maybe say the 1/4 inch. You need something smaller, like even a smaller Phillips screwdriver might be able to pull it off. But what you got to do is, here we go. So you get this and you heat it up. You heat it up here, get it nice and warm. I mean, really nice and warm. Maybe even if you hear a pop, you're in good shape. And then throw some down into the hosel. And this is all about a good minute and a half or whatever. And then you take your awl or your small tool, we'll just say, and you stick it into the side, and you kind of move it around, and then you basically do like this. And what you're doing is you're getting on the side of that tip pin, and you're wobbling it out and breaking it loose of the epoxy itself. And then what you can do is you can tap it to try and knock it out. Now, that rarely works on the very, very first time. You may have to do that 2 or 3 times in order for it to get to bust loose. I've tried in the past to just put a drill in there and try and grab it and pull it out, and I normally end up paying for that, so I would not suggest that. But take the awl and wobble it out and get it so it's loose, and then tap it, and then maybe you can reach in there with some needle nose if it gets close. But that's what you got to do, because with that thing in there, uh, it's going to be hard to get you're always going to have crud in there, and you don't want crud in there when you're getting ready to glue it back. There's Joseph and the doctor talking to Robin. There we go. So Krister talked about the deforged. Yeah, those are very nice, bud. We go through very many sets of those. It was with a 105 shaft, perfect feel. There you go. Now all you need is results, right? But it's a good shaft. I mean, it's a good head. It very much is, particularly if you're a ground pounder. That extra wide sole makes it easier to work with. McGolf, a question. Why the heck does everyone hate loud drivers? Personally, I like hearing it when I smash the ball. Everywhere else in the world, people like to hear the driver. The louder, the better. Well, I don't necessarily. I'm kind of in that group with them, Cam. I don't mind hearing a noise, but something that sounds like I'm rapping the side of an empty beer can is not my favorite noise. What it is they've done tests, and golfers tend to prefer a particular sound, and just like some prefer a louder sound, but as a whole they like the solid sound, and it just gives them the feed, and what it's from is feedback. They want feedback to give them that idea that they hit a good shot, and that's the reason why they're doing it. He hasn't had time. Look at that. What, Matt Kuchar's son play golf? He's a 1 handicap. Yeah, well, apparently the nut didn't fall far from that tree. I was thinking get Jim to make me a set of D9s or Wilson CBs. Can those sets be blended? They can, but I don't suggest it because the CB9s and the D9 Forge are two radically different. If you're going to do like a, oh, I don't know, a 3-4 or 4-5 in just the D9s and everything else down, then sure, that part we could do. But I wouldn't go halfway down the set, meaning that the two tallest clubs, which are really hard to get, make them easier with the D9s, then sure. Oh yeah, there we go. I'd have to actually bend back the CBs more than bend up the D9s, though. Those D9s are hard. RSG, bonjour from St. Louis, Robin and Jim. Got to get out and play golf frisbee or frisbee golf or whatever you want to call it when you're throwing an 8-iron into the woods this weekend. Very good, sir. Very good. I hear you. We used to call it making helicopters. There we go. My putter is the Yes Tiffany swash with a lambkin. Yep, I saw that. I saw you got, and the head cover on there looks to be in extraordinarily good condition. Good for you. Colin Miles, thanks, Jim. As a pass with Sean Fitter, were the 550 forged heads nice. Just picked up a set, never assembled. Yeah, Sean's clubs were. I mean, when Sean first came out, nobody was doing what he was doing. To the point, even the 919 is still a viable head. He was the first one that I can recall that was using cup face technology, and he was doing some really cool stuff with that. And the fact that he can actually bend it is pretty impressive. In the irons the 550s, they were 555s and there was 560s. They're all very, very nice clubs. Mr. Wishon was just a guy that believed that if you need to hit it further, pick up the other club. If you need to hit it shorter, pick up the one down below it, as opposed to trying to hit a 7-iron some ridiculous length. And he's not wrong. However, that's not what the golfers wanted to do. And so if he was to take these same heads and make them more in that typical loft era, he would probably be killing it right now. And Krister got himself a new Wilson golf bag. Nice. I hit the Dynapower irons, the KBX Max Light regular shafts. They're amazing, but I usually play dollar taper 120s stepped. Huge difference. Hit them so well. Why? We're talking about something that's massively forgiving, Cam, versus something that is not. Right? Something is not. I just had right there. That thing is a monster. All right, that thing is huge as far as club heads go, and it's got a pretty good sized sole on it, and it's got a lot of offset as well. So, I mean, if you're playing a fade and all of a sudden you're not, that could be where it's at. John Elk, what do you say, sir? Hey, Jim, on the GolfWorks grip ribs, do you put them under the grip or under the grip and tape? Oh, how did I do that? Because we've got some, and the packaging tells you. I know that if I was doing it, I would put it on the shaft and put the grip tape around it, and then slide it around, because that it's a plastic piece certainly would get in there, but I would much rather it be secured with the tape. So I would go with shaft, rib, tape, grip. There we go. John saying hi. Michael, good old power belt persimmons and MP32s were the best of times. There you go. Woo. Well, I tell you what, man, with you hitting it out to 300, taking that S and tipping is probably the best thing. Just like we were talking earlier when asking about the Fuji speeder, same concept. Charlie used to use the power builts back in the day. Good for him. There you go. PZ, do you ever play with your clients? I had a student friend client tell me he looks forward to beating me this year. I want him to beat me too. Let's know how he's learning to get better. Yeah, every once in a while I do. A couple years back, we had a bunch of people that came up from Glade Springs, West Virginia. Glade Springs is a very little, it's just a little community, gets set off into the mountains.
That's where your guy was from the other day.
Yep, and that's where one of our guys were from. And there are 3 golf courses there: the Cobb, Stonehaven, and Woodhaven. And there is a hotel, and there is also some cottages for you to enjoy if you wanted to be closer to the woods. The other cool part about this is it's like going back in time. It's like Pollyanna kind of stuff. They got like a little general store, a swimming pool, a couple of restaurants, and one very fancy one just kind of like a pub atmosphere. It's kind of got you locked in, and it's super. The people there are just so friendly. It's not even funny. The Cobb is where you see a lot of qualifiers being played to go play at the. Boy, I'm having just a mind fart today. Where you have where they do anyway, that's where they do the tournaments so you can play at the PGA course that's nearby. Then they also have some NCAA championships, and it's funny because tee to green, it's a pretty friendly golf course. You can get tee to green no problem. You get onto the golf course itself or onto the green itself, and you have no idea which way this thing is going. It can go and break 90 degrees on you and never even once see it. And so it's a kind of a tricky putting course, but it's also very nice. The single most hardest golf course on there is called Woodhaven, and it's a lot of target golf, and it is quite possibly the most scenic golf course I've ever been on. It's just very nice. Anyway, played all 3 with all the different people that we made clubs for. Very, very nice. And I found out I was in the middle of the pack because I already knew 2 or 3 of them could beat me anyway. So it wasn't that big a deal, but it's total fun. Total fun. All righty. Oh yeah. Do you see Dad got on here? That's my dad. Very good. All right. What's a good shaft or shafts for a smoother swing? Well, if you like lighter shafts, Nippon 950 GHs are a good one. If you like something slightly heavier, the Modus 120 is more for the smoother swinger. If you want to get outside of that, you very well might like the Elevate in the 85-95. Pick your flex that you like. If you're going into graphite, I still like the Acras and the I series, but the PGIs from KBS are pretty impressive. I will say that they're very, very impressive. If there should be one more out there. The Tour 90 might be a good one in irons. Now,
Elevate.
I already said that. You got to listen if you're going to comment like that. Anyway, as far as smoother goes, without breaking the bank, there's Graphite Design has the MAD driver, MAD driver, driver shaft. In the other one, the VRTX, which is a PGX platform or Project X platform, in the red. There's a blue and a red. The red's a little bit higher. That's a very, very nice one to be stable. There's another one out there. Oh, the new Hazardous Silver. That one's a very good one as well. I'd check out those. All righty. Do you rep other putters besides Makefield? Yes, I do, bud. I got all kinds of Odysseys, and I also have we have the Mizuno ones. They have the Mizuno milled ones. We have those as well, and we have some Toulons. And just that this is the latest new stuff that they have. But I do like the setups. This Versa new setup for the Versa. They putt very well. I didn't think I was going to like the zebra look. To me, I thought it was distracting, but it works. I will say that it works. The Mizuno is from a milled perspective. Bang for buck for a milled putter, you're not going to do any better. All right. Passman Prime, as long as you're sitting in the co-pilot seat, it seems a shame Jim's glass is empty. Truly. Oh, here it is. But I like limiting myself to one. That's what we do. We call this the happy hour. All righty. Greg Pace, thank you. We'll stick with a half-inch tip. Good. I think you'd like it. P. Funk Chang, there we go. When should someone play a tour urethane cover, handicap, or budget? Neither one. What I'm looking at is when we look at golf balls, it's about club head speed and the quality of your hit, and they have to work together, right? You can have a very, very high swing speed and just be a really terrible ball striker, and the upper end golf balls are not going to do anything for you. So you can go into the second tier. The vice versa can happen. You can have a swing speed that's a little lower than what they would prescribe, but be just dead on ball striking, and all of a sudden that would work for you. So it really has to do with your capability of hitting the ball well, and then having a very high, well, a medium to higher ball speed as far as swing speed. The other thing is at that particular point, then you can get into some other choices from there. Robin's talking. Past my prime. Off-brand golf. Here we go. Pulling graphite shafts from an iron set and want to reuse the shaft. Is there any way to pull them without a shaft puller? I know that's kind of an argument out there on the internet. My opinion is no. All right, no. Now, can you successfully pull one or two and not damage the shaft? Yes, but it's basically an accident. All right. So if you know how, and the reason why this is like that is golf shafts are wrapped, when your graphite golf shafts are wrapped around a mandrel. And it's not that they're set like this. They can come in at different angles, whether it be like this, like this, like this, like that. It can be, they can come in at different angles. Now, wrapped ones obviously are going to come in at different angles as well. They're not just going to be this line. Otherwise, it'd be like a door spring. And because of that, when you're heating up the club, you also heat up the shaft. When you're heating up the shaft, you're not heating up the graphite so much as you're heating up the epoxy that is in between the graphite. And if that lets go, it's a done deal. And if you're sitting there with graphite shafts like that, and you go to do this with it, and it just catches it ever so slightly and it unravels it, you're done. You're just done. And that's the reason why you pull it straight out, so you don't give it you don't give it any reason to want to do anything but come straight out, which is exactly the way it went in. There you go. Frank says, have fun on our trip. I think we will. Jonathan Weaver, what do you say? One truck to line up putter grips. Trick. One trick to line up putter grips or logos is to hold the leading edge against a door jamb, look down at the shaft, and sometimes the top, and helps check alignment. There's always that. Now the other part, Jonathan, in the what could really help is if you guys were, the Golf Mechanics makes a gripping station, and on this gripping station is it's a plexiglass piece that's easily, I don't know, 2 foot long, and it's got a red line right down the middle. And when you go to clamp this thing on, it swings along and it lines you up, and you can just put that logo right underneath of it. That's another way of pulling that one off too. All righty. Recently slowed my swing down to 105 from 120 and focused on hitting the proper launch angle, gained 20 yards distance. What a difference. This is not stressed. This is not stressed enough. Agree? No. So what's probably happening, Cam, in order to get 120 is you're probably swinging out of your shoes, right? And what's causing that to happen is there's a lot of tension and there's a lot of holding on and there's a lot of things you probably wouldn't do as if you're just swinging, uh, you know, without tension. And if that causes you to slow down, then so be it. And what you're seeing is if you're going from 105, if you're coming from 105 from 120 and you're actually hitting it further, that means your quality of hit went skyrocketing, went straight up. Meaning, for instance, I would take a guess that you were probably towing some shots because you're pulling across or you're into the heel. And when you got down into a swing speed that you're comfortable with, you found the middle of the club face and it just took straight off. And that's probably what's happening. You are more than welcome, Gavin. And good luck on the endeavor, sir. Chang, 105 plus budget, best budget urethane, tailor made. There you go. Dirty Irish. I like that one. I play single length irons. Would it be possible to make a set with PXG? No. And I say that quickly because I know they've got all those things across the bottom. They're the only ones that would come anywhere near close. However, it's a fairly solid swing, and I don't know if those little screws would tally up enough. Here's the thing: everything comes off of that 7 or 8 iron. Let's just say 7. So that means you need to weight the 3, 4, 5, and 6 in order to get that. And in some cases, you're looking at 20 to 30 grams. Okay, and between 20 and 25 grams. I don't know if those little screws will make that up. And if they did, it would change the way that that club is going to perform. That from a pure design aspect. Now you go to the other side of it, and now you got to take them all out and only put in the very most lightest ones, and you're already going to be over the number. In which case, you can't get where you want to go. Meaning that you whatever that 7 iron is, you want all of them to be that weight in order for single length to work. Then you have to be able to bend them so they're all at the same lie angle. And I think you could probably do that. So if there was a way to make them all the same weight, then yeah, you probably could. But I just don't see it happening without some sort of massive change. And the same thing goes for the lower end irons. When you take all that weight out, now you just drove the center of gravity up in the head, and it's going to make it hit these liners instead of a nice high soft shot. But that's it. All righty. Have you ever thought about having a golf get together, a weekend of Q&A fitting trips, or a golf get together weekend? I bet a lot of us make that. maybe one day. It kind of happened when I went and did the My Golf Spy one. We all sat around and talked. That was quite a lot of fun. And we're going to do a Pinehurst trip sometime this year. Same thing, but it's an overnight. And after 2 rounds of golf, I don't know if I'll be ready to talk to anybody or not. All righty. Marcus Lassiter, what do you say, sir? I recently purchased a set of Callaway X18s. In your opinion, are those pretty solid clubs? Yeah, they're just aged, but yeah, the X series was always really good. It was good for a. They were made when all the X clubs were made. They were made for the average golfer, right? They're made for the average golfer to have a modicum of offset, a decently radius sole, kind of a longer blade length in comparison, but as a whole, yeah, they were pretty good. Okay, I'm wanting to make that happen. All right. Been a lie angle the other day for a client. He was very surprised and pleased with how much it affected and corrected his shot dispersion. It is amazing what just little bitty tweaks, and not just, it depends on what you're talking about, PZ, but, I've done it for guys with putters, and a 2-degree bend on a putter is life-changing. It's pretty amazing. Oh, there's Cam. He's looking forward to that. There's our buddy Joe. Time for a McGolf outing. There you go. Hey, LB Longboarder. All right. Have you tested the Axiom? No, I have not. I don't get much call to test them. Fuji is. I know it's a good. I know it's a good iron shaft. I know. Well, everything Fuji makes is of a high quality. You just have to make sure it's of the right profile for you. Tyler Camplin. I have a question. Have you ever removed the grip from a Nike counter flex? It's the one that is counterbalanced with the balance shaft inside. No, I have not. I didn't even know Nike made one of those, to be honest with you. With something else inside, I don't know. It could be. You mean like a tip weight or something like that? And if that's what you're or a butt weight, then not Nike, but several others, yes. Yeah. See, there you go, Mrs. Off Brand. He's got one as well. Good job, man. Oh yeah, when I put them back in, it's cool to spin them as I put them back iron heads, and I like to get an even coat epoxy as I would with melt. Yes, absolutely. You are absolutely correct. You're right on the money. Joe says he must have been a smoker getting together today. I would have pitched in. Looks like TaylorMade will release a mini burner. Oh my gosh. They just can't leave well enough alone, can they? I know you'll be looking at it. You like that stuff. Good for you. There's Singapore cash for his smoking ability. Hey, there you go. Do a little barbecue at the end. That would be great. Okay. Well, look at that. It's about 10 till. We got one more here. Tyler, it's comparable to the extra long super stroke grips. I'm having a hard time getting it off any tips. Oh, I see what you're talking about. Well, Tyler, I normally don't save grips as a whole. I don't blow them off. I don't when they come off, they come off. Now, I have used I when I go to try and do this, I have a needle gun, and I take a needle and I go poking through the grip itself, and I squeeze the solvent underneath the grip, and it can take quite a bit of time, but it works. It works, and then I just turn it, and it normally pops off. Now, if this is like that two piece, like a Super Stroke grip, it is going to be, if you're using air, it's not going to want to it is not going to want to cooperate because that underlisting is very, very firm. It is not pliable, which what makes the air work. Okay. Now, I would, if you're looking at that, I would certainly look at with the needle and going through, and it's going to cost you a needle because that stuff is very, very firm. All righty. Two more, and we were done, fellas and ladies. David Hunter, which steel shafts do you recommend for mid-high handicappers? David, not to sound like a turd in a jar, but the ones that fit, even the high handicappers. So, True Temper is a good company for certain. They've been around for generations. The DG comes in a 120, 105, and even a 90s now. They have the Elevates, which is very good. And if you're just getting started, the Elevate would be my choice in that particular model. If you're doing Nippons, I would look at the 950s or the 950 Neos. If you're into KBS, maybe the 90s or even they have now what's called the Tour Lights. Those would be the ones. But right in that neck of the woods, something a little not super heavy, not super light, right down the groove. So in that 95, 105 area, 115. All right. There's Bill Nauman. How are you, sir? All right. What do you think of the PXG Cypher 40, Cypher 40 5.0? I like the Cypher shaft. I like the Cypher shaft. It's very, very good. It's a very lightweight shaft, but it'll take up for a guy that can really get after it. As far as the PXG, it depends on the model. Some of the earlier models, not so much anymore. This latest one looks to be a winner, though. Okay. All right, guys and gals, we did get to the end. That was very cool. Thank you so very much. And we're going to go up to the top. Here we go. So again, if you would like and subscribe, watch for a video that's going to come out, and we just like, and again, take a look at the video. It's on the nicklaus irons to see how they were taken apart and put back together, and hopefully you'll enjoy that one. And we're going to be back same bat time, same bat channel next Monday. And as always, let's see your scores. Go low.